welcome to the Stories for Tomorrow podcast. So, what's it all about? If you love listening to inspiring and fascinating stories, you are in the right place. We love chatting with interesting people with stories to tell. In each episode, we will be sharing true stories told by real people. We believe that stories should last forever, and our mission is to keep stories alive by sharing them. We hope you enjoy it. This podcast is sponsored by Clockbox, a digital memory box of your life to be shared with future generations. With your host, Larissa Lima.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Stories for Tomorrow podcast. Our guest today is Brid O'Connor, a lovely lady that I had the pleasure to meet a few weeks ago. Brid is an inspiring person, a cancer survivor, history teacher, and author. But much beyond it, Brid is a mother, daughter, and wife. So she surely understands the value of stories. So with no further ado, let's get right in there with Brid O'Connor. Hello, Brid. I'm so happy to have you on the Stories for Tomorrow podcast. How are you today?
I'm really good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I was very excited when you said yes for the interview. So tell us a little bit about yourself and where are you speaking from?
So I'm from a small town in Kerry called Killarney, and I'm a history teacher. I'm currently working in St. Brendan's Secondary School in Killarney. And yes, I have recently published a book called Spark, which is a collection of stories by a variety of different people, telling us about what happened when they dimmed their spark and what did they do to reignite it.
Ah, that's lovely. And would you have a favorite childhood memory to share with us today?
I suppose we were really lucky when we grew up in Killarney. Mum and Dad are both from Kerry, but Dad's from Tralee. So we would go every year to the Rose of Tralee Festival. And to me, it's my favourite memory because all the cousins would descend on Tralee. We would be there for the week. And I think it's my favourite memory because I suppose we were surrounded by family. And there was always activities to do there. We were either at running races or we were at the circus or we were down the town at the little stalls, concerts at night time. And as we got older, this bond really formed with the cousins.
That's lovely.
Yeah, it's lovely. So I think the Rose of Tralee Festival is for me as, my childhood memories really embody everything who we are. Family, fun, and Kerry.
Oh, that's very nice. Those family moments are so nice, isn't it? And we always keep it forever in our memories. That's so good. Yeah. So just coming back a little bit for your book now. So in September, I saw that you launched the Spark. And would you mind sharing with us a little bit of the insights that you have about the book and the reason you decided to publish it?
I suppose I was diagnosed with cancer 15 months after my mother had been diagnosed with the terminal cancer. And I suppose at the time when we were going through it, she was very positive and, we were kind of saying we're on the right side of science and, she always looked for kind of like championing through it. And I thought, God, I'm so lucky to have her by my side to do this, but also as well, getting up every day and putting, facing it full on. And I realized, I wasn't the first person. I certainly won't be the last person that will be, faced with adversity or faced with challenges. And then it got me thinking, what had other people done? How had other people, I was lucky I had Mum with me, but I also, as well, as I kind of mentioned in the book, I used a poem by William Ernest Henley called Invictus. And that for me was my go-to. I would go to that poem and I thought, okay, what do other people do? So, I'm a history teacher. I love stories, but I'm also really nosy. So I wanted to know what had happened. But more importantly, how do they get up out of it? How do they rise out of it? And that really is the essence of Spark.
That's lovely. And how did you gather all these stories in one single book?
So I didn't want it to be a cancer book as such. I wanted it to be a life book. I wanted to be a story about life, and so many different things happen to people. So I wanted to capture a breadth of people. So first I kind of went to people I knew. So I went very small. I went to my family, and unfortunately in my own family, we have people that have had, young men having, like my uncle having heart surgery at 45, and then even like my friends next door to me, her baby was stillborn. And, as I cast the net further and further and further, I have friends with children who have autism. And it was just then, as I spoke to them, I asked them, okay, do you have somebody you think that something has happened to them, but they have shown resilience and they have powered through it, and how they did it? And then like that, we cast the net out further and further and further. So I got a breadth of people, some people I never met, and it was COVID, and they submitted their stories to me. Some people I still haven't met because, again, of COVID. But they were very willing and open and honest to give me their story. And I think everybody knew that it was going to be a charity book. They also knew as well that this might help somebody else that was in the same situation as them. So I tried to get as many different stories and different types of stories, and kind of like a male-female balance as well, young, old. I had teenagers, I had people in their 80s, so there was a breadth of people. Some people were famous, and some people are not, and everyday walks of life. And I think that's essentially what Spark is.
Definitely. Everyone has a story, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And how did you come up with the name?
So yeah, that's a really good question. So initially I had called it Unbowed, the book, because it's the line from the book Invictus or the poem Invictus is, I'm bloody but unbowed. And it means, you're yes, this has happened, but you're down, but you're not out. But then I looked on Google and there was thousands of books called Unbowed. I thought, okay, I need to go back. And I was like, I need something else to spark. And then my husband turned to me and said, call it Spark. And then from that, it totally changed the narrative of the book. It totally changed my formatting, the way that I kind of looked at it, and even my questions. And I thought, yes, that's a good one, because like, what happened to you? How did your spark dim? And then the other question was, and how did you reignite your spark? So yeah, it literally, and like with the spark, it doesn't need to be a light. It doesn't need to be a huge flame. Dante Alighieri says, the tiniest spark can lead to the greatest flame. But I just felt it was perfect, because all you need is that tiniest little spark, the littlest ember to make something, work for you.
Oh, wow. That's very cool, Brady. Thank you for sharing all those details with us. I'm sure Spark gave hope to many people. And well done on gathering all the amazing stories and keep them alive, So talking about stories, we all know that in Clockbox we clock memories into the future. So with it in mind, whose time capsule would you like to receive or have received, Brady?
I know, when I saw this question, I thought, I don't want to receive anybody's time capsule, because then that means they're gone, obviously, But then I know, having lost our mom, that I would have loved something like this. Now, she left us a legacy. She left us absolutely, books with, her handwriting and poems and stories and letters for us, that we have the hard copy. But I would have loved kind of a collection of, a digital footprint, really, that I'd always have. So I think this is such a fabulous idea. And I think I'm very cognizant of this. I know now that, time is limited. And even in the book, Father Teddy says that. He says time is limited. We have to use it wisely. But we also have to, leave. And I suppose, as being a history teacher as well, I really understand, you're remembered in history because you're written about it. But what about the people that are forgotten, and because they didn't put it down on paper? That's the only reason we have these stories, is because people actually put it down on paper. So I think it's hugely important. So obviously I would like to receive everybody's that is around me, that is much, 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 much older than me. So yeah, but if I would have loved to have had my mother's. I would have, but unfortunately, yeah.
That's lovely. It surely would be full of love and amazing memory. Surely. So let's say we're creating a time capsule for you right now, and we're going to set the time release for 50 years, 50. What would you put in there to describe who you are today?
I suppose who I am really, and the essence of who I am. And I hope that is translated, in different ways. So I would love photographs. I think I'm very much a visual person. So kind of photographs of what we did, where we went. I always say in Spark, there was kind of 3 fragments of it. And it was like, be curious, have courage, and be in your community. And I think they're the 3 things that I would love that, if it was my grandchildren were opening it in 50 years time, and they would say, okay, I was curious, I traveled the world, I tried different things, I had courage to do things, and then I gave back to my community. So I'd love those kind of, I suppose, 3 pillars to be evident to the next generation,
That's lovely. You can create like different capsules to each part. So that's a very good idea. That's very nice. And what would you like to put in a time capsule for your kids in a specific? Would you have like different time capsule each of them, or would be the same one? What would you say about it?
Oh no, I think very different, because they are very different.
Yeah.
And I think my mother had a great phrase, there's a sock for every shoe. And, everything is very different. And, I'm very different from I was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm sure my capsule will evolve with that as well. So what I put in today will, for them when, he's 11, she's 17, is very, very different to what I'll probably do in 5 years' time, So I definitely think that's the beauty of the clock box, the fact that it evolves with you.
Exactly. That's very nice. I try to record like small videos, like 15 seconds videos. So I can look, it's even good for me because I can look back and I see how I changed through like 6 months. That's crazy how your mentality changed, everything changed. So it's a very good exercise to do, even it's for yourself. So one final question before we wrap it up. So what was the most important thing you've learned in life?
Would you like to pass on your legacy and never be forgotten? Download an easy guide on how to create a digital time capsule from this podcast's description and save your memories forever for future generations. This podcast is sponsored by Clockbox, a digital memory box of your life.
This is a tough question.
I know.
I think I suppose it's really hard to say, but life keeps going. And, unfortunately, regardless of what happens, the wheel keeps turning, night and day, it just keeps evolving, it keeps moving forward, and you have to too. And it's really important. And I really feel that when you kind of acknowledge that and you kind of say, okay, you have to keep moving with it, regardless of what you have to face into everything. You have to face into the storm. You have to lift yourself out of things. And I suppose the most important thing I learned was that you have to captain your own soul. And again, that's a line from Invictus, but you definitely have to steer that boat yourself, and once you have ownership of who you are and what way you're going, I think you live freely and you live fully.
Oh my God, that's so nice. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I had so much fun recording this interview with you. It was lovely. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and life story in the Stars for Tomorrow podcast. And well done for publishing the book. It was amazing. I had the pleasure to read a few parts of it. Like, looking forward to have the whole book in my hands. I got just a few pictures of it. So just to finish the podcast in the best way possible, would you like to recite your favorite poem to us, Invictus?
Yes, lovely. Thanks, Teresa, and thank you for having me. It's so lovely. Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud under the bludgeoning of chance. My head is bloodied, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade. And yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my faith. I am the captain of my soul.
Oh, that's lovely. Woohoo! Thank you.
It is a beautiful poem by him, really, and I think he really shows resilience, and it just shows no matter what, just keep learning and keep going. Isn't that the most important thing in life?
It is.
Yeah, you just have to keep going and find how you can keep going. And I think really that's the spark. And can I ask you one question, Larissa?
Of course.
Yeah. So if I said to you, on the bad days, and everybody has a bad day because we'll call a spade. On a bad day, how do you reignite your spark? What do you do? Like, is there something that you say, right, I go for a run? Some people in the book went for a run or swim in the sea, or they meditate. The poem for me. For you, what is your spark?
I would say because I'm from a different country and I have no family here. So I would say in the bad days, I call my family.
Okay.
Yeah, I try to, keep in touch, but because of work and everything, so I'm not able to call them every day. But in the bad days, I surely call them. Yeah. And I want to know, I don't even say that I'm having a bad day, but just to speak with them, it makes my day much better.
Yeah, they reset you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and your people get you.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Your tribe is your vibe.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Stories for Tomorrow. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This podcast is sponsored by Clockbox, a digital memory box of your life to be shared with future generations. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.